Well, welcome to the annual business meeting. We like to call it the fun meeting at times. And one of those things is, nothing has turned out as we expected this year.
Not at all.
And kind of probably the same with you in your life. And so we will just kind of go through what we would normally talk about in a business meeting. And towards the end, we're actually going to give you some updates because we are really wanting to get back in the building, obviously.
Yes.
And so we'll tell you a little bit more about how we're planning on doing that a little bit later in the video. But we're just going to kind of walk through some numbers and what's going on around here. So there you go.
Hey, this year is a little different because we obviously are having to do this all without meeting on site. And so one of the things we did was ask you if you had any questions to email those to us, let us know so that we could answer them in this video. And honestly, didn't get
Everybody
any.
was so comfortable with everything that was going on that we didn't get questions.
Yeah, so which is fine. So we're just going to hit some highlights, hit some general stuff, and hopefully we'll be able to give you the information you need to make good decisions as you're voting this year.
Exactly. One of the main things we do at these meetings is ratify elders, and we ratify them. We don't vote. They're not voting for one or the other or things like that. So we have two elders.
Yes, we have two current elders who have gone through the process in the board itself of having a review and asking questions, and the elder board has unanimously approved bringing their names again to the church for ratification for a 2-year term. We do every 2 years.
And those elders are Adam Stone and Joe Bunchich, and you can read about their bios and things like that in the packet that we had sent out.
Correct.
And then we're excited about bringing on two new elders. And as we're looking for bringing on some elders, we're just excited about these two names we're bringing on, Betsy Beers and Betsy Bloom.
Correct.
And again, I think they're going to give a fresh perspective to the board.
Yep.
And just excited about them coming.
Yeah, so we're always kind of on the lookout for how can we kind of keep some things moving and changing and keep enough people on the elder board to keep some continuity and at the same time bring some fresh ideas in.
Right.
And in addition to that, Kevin Saylor is going to be stepping off from his position.
Done an amazing job.
Yeah, he has. We appreciate him. He's been our treasurer for the last few years and continues to do that part of the financial side.
And he's still going to do some of that.
Yes, he is.
And we're bringing him more even on the digital end of this, and that's why we kind of wanted to move him into another
I'm excited because he's going to get to work on my teams and stuff and be part of the tech team.
So that's some great stuff. One of the other things I think that's big for this year that we need to talk about is staffing. And as we move more digital, some job descriptions have been changing and things like that. Again, we're still figuring some of this out, but one of the major things, and I think people would like to hear, especially your heart, is you are transitioning a little bit.
Yeah, I would say probably the biggest change this year that we wanted to kind of fill you in on is how staff is continually evolving. And like you just said,
that's a great thing, evolving.
It's multiple things happening at the same time. We've talked before about how COVID has just accelerated some of the changes that we were already going toward. I can remember last year saying with some of the ways my role had changed as executive pastor, I was spending more time helping other churches in some different areas, especially with technology and leadership development. And so I had backed down some of my hours, but I remember even saying, I'm going to continue to teach every so often and stuff like that. And obviously, if you've been around, I haven't taught as much as we had planned on. Well, that's because when COVID hit, the need for figuring out how to do digital ministry and technology went way up very quickly.
It just exploded.
And so I had to spend most of my time doing all the technology
behind the scenes and things like that, and getting us prepared to be able to do what we were able to do.
Which we didn't know last year that it was going to explode like this. And so this year, kind of another change. What we found out partway through the year was in a conversation with Brad, just talking about how things were going, that it became very obvious that the executive pastor role that I was filling, but was only doing part-time, needed more hours, needed somebody doing that full-time. And we kind of had to make the decision, was I going to go back to full-time in that role, or did we need to look at filling that some other way?
And one of the other things that was happening at that time is that you were spending so much time doing the executive stuff at times of the books and numbers and things, which are all obviously important and had to be done, but we were so desperate in having to have all the tech things done to get us where we needed to be, that you were being pulled in both those directions. We said, we are big enough now, we're doing enough digital that we need to concentrate you on your expertise in that area. So you're not going anywhere.
Correct. I'm not leaving. I still love this church. My heart is here. I love where we're headed.
Right.
And
we would not be where we are without your expertise and your knowledge, to be honest.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But it's what I've been feeling like God's been leading me to do more and more of, not only here at Crossbridge, but at other churches as well.
And that's the cool thing I want people to understand, is that we've always been a giving church, and I think part of our kingdom give is for other churches also.
Right.
And we've actually had how many churches come up here and see the things that we're doing now?
Yeah, we just had one from Ohio a few weeks ago
Right.
that came over, and we were showing them up here in the production suite, and because they actually just hired their church that's quite a bit larger than us, and they had just hired one of their staff to be a full-time online pastor. But we're trying to figure out what does that look like, and we're struggling with some of those same questions, and so we got together up here and we're able to show them what we were doing that's helping them take some steps forward.
Right. So we as a church have been helping other churches develop the same type of things we are doing, and you have really had an impact in some of those churches, and that's where you're gifted at, and it's cool that we're able to give back to some of that. So there's been several churches that have come in here, and you're being able to deal with. So like I said, he's not going anywhere, but we're also helping other churches at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so my role will change to a 10-hour a week technical director. And so my focus will become doing the technology, especially with the digital ministry, both on Sunday and throughout the week. And then we've decided to hire Michael Lehman as the full-time executive pastor,
Right.
to take over all that stuff that I was getting pulled in two directions. And man, can't tell you how excited we are.
We are.
Michael's going to be great in that role. We're so thankful that we've able to find somebody again from within,
Right.
who has the heart and the passion for the mission of this church.
Knows who we are as a church, and he's no stranger to church ministry. He's been on staff, has a degree in ministry, and I think the cool thing is he'll be able to. One of his gift is being able just to coordinate.
Right.
And we're going to rely heavily on him to keep us moving in the right direction as we get more and more involved in how we're going to do ministry.
Right.
He's going to put the pieces behind the scenes together of making sure that is happening.
Correct.
And
that's part of what we've been missing is, and you've had to take more of that
Right.
load because I haven't been around as much. And that's kind of bogged you
And
down.
that is not my giftedness.
It's not your giftedness. And it's bogged you down and taken you away from being able to stay at the big picture
Right,
level.
right.
And we've got to unload some of that from you. And
Yeah.
so really excited about it.
So I think it's a perfect fit. I think God's putting this all together in one thing. The cool thing about this is I think some of the questions that were in people's minds was, well, how are we going to afford to be able to do that?
Which is the big question, right?
Right.
How can we afford to do that? And basically, the way we're going to be able to do that is we were shifting job descriptions. Jordan's doing more of the leading the online ministry right now. Some other of us have kind of shifted in some other ways. But in addition to that, we've also shifted a few hours that people are working. And so between kind of adjusting who's working, some of the part-time people, who's working how many hours, and obviously with me going down to just 10 hours a week, we were able to bring Michael on for just a 3% increase in our salary budget item.
Yeah.
So it's not a
huge
a
thing,
huge hit.
and it's just where we had to go.
Right.
Yeah, it's the right thing, and we were actually very glad there was only a 3% increase. We were worried at first that we weren't going to be able to do this.
Right.
Yeah. So with that said, I think the next thing we need to walk through is budget.
budget.
And you are the numbers guy.
Yeah, so we've been working on budget since October of trying to figure out, well, then what does this look like? Every year we put together a budget that's a general guideline. Obviously, this year was a great example of how we had to adjust that budget and spend more in some areas and less in other areas. But overall, hold on to the budget we had. Always want to thank you for, if you supported us as a church, thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
We've been able to stay real close to that budget level. for most of the year, and so we appreciate that. But as we developed the budget, we decided one of the main things was not knowing where things were going, in the environment we're in. We didn't want to increase or count on much of an increase, if any. And so actually our budget is based on the same budget number for offerings as we had last year. So
Right.
we projected no increase in offerings next year. But one of the things that's helping us a little bit that we're having to adjust to is C3 Sports is such a big part of what we're doing.
Right.
And because of the environment we're in and not sure if we're going to be able to run basketball seasons inside at schools anymore, we're kind of adjusting season.
Right, and the funny thing about this whole COVID is normally, it was changing us in a bad way, and we didn't know how we were going to, react to all of that stuff. And there's actually some positive things that came out of this, because
Right.
we were forced in C3 Sports to do some things that we normally wouldn't have done, and we didn't think we were going to be able to do our football season, so we moved it to the summer. Compacted to a 4-week season, and people loved it.
Yeah.
We loved it because we weren't playing in the rain.
Right.
and the mud.
And the mud.
And so it worked out great. So we said, why not just continue that?
Yeah.
And so that's what we decided to do, which allowed us to add a season. So we're going to actually take the soccer season,
Soccer, yeah.
and we're going to do a spring and a fall
And soccer's
season.
been our biggest season always.
Right.
And so now we're going to be able to add that and offer it twice in 1 year.
And people had asked us, hey, why don't you run a spring soccer? And we've heard that, and there's no way we could have done it.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden it all works. So we were forced into something that actually made it work positive for us. We started registration just December 1st,
Yeah.
and already had, like the first day, had 6 registrations come
Yeah.
in. And we haven't even started advertising yet.
Yeah, you haven't put it out there.
Exactly.
yet,
And so we think it's going to be big, and we're excited about that. So yeah, there's some positive things that have come out of this also.
Yeah, it's just like any of the other stuff we've talked about. Again, COVID has accelerated the rate of change, and it's been hard, and there's been some negative things, like you said. But it's also forced us to try some things that we wouldn't probably have tried
Exactly.
that actually are resulting in us taking some steps forward.
Right.
So, some things we've tried haven't worked, and then some things we found going, okay, this is the next step for us.
Exactly.
So, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's just really good stuff. So with all that said, the thing I think we're excited about is we are anxious, obviously, to get through the crisis that we're in, all this pandemic and things like that. But we are looking for 2021, and we just believe that God is going to do some incredible things here.
Right.
We don't know when this is all going to be past us, over us, but it has not stopped us from doing ministry.
Correct. And I think that's what we want to make sure we talk about a little more is that, we've talked about digital ministry quite a bit, but for those of us who were used to coming here on Sundays and miss that and can't wait for that to come back, as much as we miss it, that hasn't meant that we haven't been doing ministry.
Exactly.
We've just had some great steps forward for people. Our mission is transforming lives, helping people take next steps with God.
And we see that happening
happening.
all over the place.
Through what we have been able to do,
Right.
the C3 Sports, the digital ministry, all those things. So I know some people may feel very much like church hasn't been going on for a while. And we want to let you know that the mission is still moving forward.
Yeah, and the other thing, as we continue to push what we're doing, we've always said over the last couple of years that church is changing, and it's changing rapidly. And I want you to understand something very clearly, is that Sunday morning is not going away.
Right, correct.
That it is not. It's still a major part of what we're going to do, and we're going to push and push and do Sunday morning as best as we possibly can. But it doesn't end there anymore.
Correct.
We are able to do ministry basically 24/7.
Correct.
And
And that's the big mind shift.
It
or
is.
Mind change.
Yeah.
The perspective changes. It is Sunday morning will just be a big piece of lots of other things that we're
Right.
doing. It's not
Where it
the
used-
only.
Where it used to be, everything pushed. We had all our staff, everybody. It's all about Sunday. It's all about Sunday. All about Sunday. Still crucial, still critical piece of what we're going to do.
And a lot of the technology that we've been working on during this downtime is actually
You're going to
for
see some.
Sunday morning.
You're going
It's
to see
gonna
some
be
major
cool.
differences. There's
Yeah.
going to be some cool stuff happening.
I can't wait to start using it on Sunday morning.
Exactly, and so I don't want to get the wrong impression that that's becoming a side piece. It is not. It's still a major piece of what we're doing. but we'll be able to do those pieces also throughout the week.
Correct.
Build connection, build community, build spiritual practices and things like that. So it's challenging, but man, we couldn't be more excited. And I tell you, the staff is excited.
Yes.
Where we are, where we're going, Michael coming on, you being more into your giftedness.
Yeah, I get to play.
Yeah,
10 hours.
one of the things that you actually said is this is like a Christmas present to me.
It's awesome. I'm
And
excited
so
about it.
people are, and Jordan's the same way. You know, Trevor's been doing an amazing job.
Trevor's been great.
Crushing it.
And honestly, let me just say too, I'm excited. I've talked for the last 3 to 5 years about us starting that transition to make this the church of the next generation.
Right.
And you need to know that as we've headed into this digital ministry and a lot of the things that we were forced to have to do this year, the young people on staff have really risen up. And in the last year, Trevor, Jake, Jordan, all those guys, their voices have had a lot to do with where we're headed.
Right.
And I'm excited that as I kind of step back some more, you're in a unique perspective. I would just say, honestly, Brad is a unique individual that, though you're not in those generations, obviously, you're far from it. Brad is willing and able to listen to that and be able to say, this is where we need to go, and let those guys speak into the direction and the vision of what we're trying to do.
We just can't lose the church at these next 2 generations, and things are going to be done differently. And I'll be honest with you, not everything that I like.
Nope, me either.
But we know people did that for us when we were coming up, and we've got to do it for the next generations, or we won't be a church that's making an impact in the community. And so, and again, you know, there's Kim and Brenda, and I really could sit here and tell you that this staff is ready to go.
Right.
And they haven't lost a beat, and we're just really excited. And we've learned some things. We've learned how to be flexible, and to test things out. You know, one of the big things I think a lot of times is people are afraid to fail.
Yep.
And we've tried stuff and it didn't work, and we moved on. We tried something else. But that's how you innovate.
And that's probably going to continue. Just
Exactly.
so you know, in
We have to.
2021, we're probably going to try some stuff that's not going to work.
Right.
But we'll keep trying and we'll keep learning and keep moving forward.
All because we want to see lives transformed and people take next steps with God. And we know that's happening, and we're celebrating and excited about that.
Right. Yep.
One of the great things is, honestly, through this whole thing, is that we haven't had to worry a lot about financial stuff.
Correct.
And as I talk to other pastor friends and things like that, there are some churches struggling in this time, and so thank you for
Yes.
continuing to support us and continue to support your church and still giving as we continue to do ministry. It's just
some good things. You know, we built this addition onto the shed, able to add more space in the main room, storage behind it, and this production suite that we've been using.
That's amazing.
Ton. Yeah. Everybody wants to be up here now. But we've been able to do all that. We paid for all the building stuff without borrowing money.
It was awesome.
Which was great.
Yeah.
Now we did borrow a little bit. I think in the packet we let you know we did borrow $75,000 for some of the technology upgrades, because we just felt like if we're going to do this,
We need to do it right.
let's do it right.
And the nice thing is, it's not. It was some for the studio that we're
Right.
in, but it was also for Sunday
the main
mornings,
room.
and you're going to see that when we get back.
You'll enjoy some of the upgrades out there.
Exactly.
So we did all of that for a pretty small investment because of your Propel giving. All that's been kind of done now is done, and you know, we're still above what we felt like we needed to keep as cash reserves for us as a church.
Right. And to think about that is we've maintained, and we really haven't passed a plate.
Right.
We have not really. We talked a little bit here and there, some comments in letters and things about, you know, continuing support and things like that. And so we feel really blessed that we're in this position.
Yes.
But
But I would say in the last few months, we are starting to see the fatigue factor.
it is, and that's
right?
I think
For
that's
all of
exactly
us.
what it is.
And so our giving has slowly started to go down, especially as we haven't been able to meet together,
And a little bit of it is out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
You know.
which is obviously a thing. So we're at that place now where what we just kind of want to remind people and ask that we continue to give And even if we're not meeting regularly on Sundays, again, the ministry still
It's still going on.
still going on,
Yes.
and still needs to be funded.
Right.
To be honest with you, we're past some of the big stuff that we needed to do with the technology and the building. But for instance, one of the things we would love to do is have people continue to give Propel Giving. We'd love to pay off
We'd
that
love to pay that
$75,000
off.
like in a year.
And I think we can do
I
that.
think it's totally possible.
Right.
So we are just asking that you would continue to think about that. One of the ways you can do that, honestly, that a lot of people have done, and it's what's been sustaining us, is you can give online through our website and set up recurring giving, so that if you're one of those people where you just forgot, we weren't
Sure.
meeting on Sunday, so it wasn't at the forefront of my mind, set up recurring giving. You have complete control of that, to change it, stop it whenever you want to. And you can just do that by going to the giving or donate page on our website and set that up. And that just helps us. Recurring giving, that steady coming in all the
Right.
time, is what keeps us going.
Yeah, and it just takes that pressure off of us to be thinking about that. And we haven't had to think about it a lot, and we're hoping that continues in the future, because it just allows us to say, hey, you know what, we're just going to continue doing what we're doing, do ministry, and see lives change. So the other thing that'll be happening in the next several months, it'll probably be 4 or 5 months, but we're looking at another app that's going to be coming.
Yes.
We'll have different giving options and things like that. That's one of the things that Michael will be working on.
Correct.
And we're also excited about that. You'll be hearing more about that.
Yeah, we're
coming
going to
up.
consolidate
Little
some
teaser coming
systems and put everything into
in
one thing that
area.
you'll be able to use.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. So the last thing we want to talk about is coming back into the building. I promise you that we were going to talk about that at the end.
Yes.
And we are anxious about that. We actually just had an elder meeting talking about how do we safely come back, and some of the things that we're going to be looking at. Right now, we've always said that January 10th is what we're shooting for, and we are still shooting for that. We're hoping and praying, please pray with us, that the numbers come down and things like that. But Bruce, just explain a little bit about what we're looking at as far as coming back in.
Just so to clarify, I guess we wanted to make sure people understood that what we've made this decision based on all along is how can we minimize the risk. Obviously, we know people are going to get COVID, and what we're trying to do is say, how can we minimize that as much as possible, just like we're trying to do as a community, as a state, and as a nation. And so for us, when we started this, we said we wanted to look at 3 things that would drive whether or not we're meeting together. One is what is our government saying? What is the CDC saying? What's the state? What's the governor? Where are we at on, is our county red or not, or yellow or whatever it is? Where are those numbers, and what's our government telling us? Second thing is, where are the schools? Are the schools still meeting? Are they still able to have on-site learning, or do we get to a place where if all the school systems around here are shut down, that would be an indicator for us that we need to not be meeting.
Right.
And the third thing is the hospitals. Where is the level of people who are needing cared for? Are all the beds taken up? And we have some insights into that.
We have a lot of contacts in the hospitals and nurses and things like that. Some are actually on the COVID wing, so we've been keeping very close tabs. To me, that's the big one.
And specifically right now, that's the one that's holding us up.
Exactly.
We know that beds are full in the hospitals. And there's basically no margin right now with where hospitals are at. And so that right now is the big sticking point for us, saying we just feel like it would be irresponsible for us to gather a larger group of people that could contribute to overwhelming the hospitals.
Exactly.
That's been the issue for us. And so we're going to continue to monitor those 3 areas. And if those get better, we are trying to get back here as quickly as possible.
As soon as we can. Yeah. And we've created a kind of a task force, if you will, or some people that are looking at how are we going to come back, what's going to be the requirements, what's going to be some of the procedures we're going to do and things like that. And as we get closer, we'll let you know about some of those things and make you aware of all that.
But the expectation would be we'll probably be coming back with social distancing and masks.
And,
so just be aware
Be aware.
that's probably the first phase.
And we know, and here's the thing, we know that people are on both sides of that issue. You know, that there's some that are so glad that we are being very cautious, and there's some that are just really frustrated that we have not decided to go back. Everybody else is going back.
Right.
Why aren't the other churches closed also? And we get that. And I would just say, you know, let's just work together. Let's shoot for unity, and understand there's another side to this, and we're looking at all sides. We're not going to make everybody happy. But we're going to do what we think not only God is asking us to do, but it's responsible for us as a church and in the community. So we will just keep you posted as we go along.
And just, yeah, because it's going to be a, every 2 week kind of thing again. We're not going to know.
And it can change in a moment's notice.
Yeah, it's changed multiple times already,
Exactly.
so it could do the same thing.
So, well, thanks so much for watching. Again, you know how you can get a hold of us. We're still happy to answer any questions. If you're holding on to those ballots, we need them in by December 11th, I believe it is. That's that Friday.
Friday, I
And
believe.
so if you've registered and do have one of those ballots, we need them in by that date.
Yep, and we'll let you know the results of the ratifications and the budget.
Exactly. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.